Welcome to On Map, On Mission. Scott Rogers here. And today we've got a couple very special guests, and we're going to talk about something that is so important that you're not only going to want to listen to this, but you're going to want to share it with someone you know. Come on back and join us at the table. So I made a big promise just a few seconds ago.
I just heard that. I heard that.
Like, this is such an important conversation. Not only are you going to want to listen to the whole thing, you're going to want to share it with somebody. We've got Patrick and Sean with us here today. And I just want you guys to introduce yourselves a little bit, and then we'll reveal why you're here in Houston, Texas, here at the Met Church, and what's going on. So let's start over here with Patrick. What's your name, Patrick?
Yeah, I'm Patrick Snow. Did I get it right? Did I get that correct?
Yeah,
okay, good.
S-N-O-W?
S-N-O-W.
Yeah?
That's exactly right.
And you can be found on the World Wide Web, I'm sure, because you're famous.
Well, I would be careful just Googling Patrick Snow, right?
Googling
you
Snow.
You don't know what you're going to get when that happens. But
so where are you from and what do you do?
I am from Joplin, Missouri,
Yeah.
and I work at an organization called Christ in Youth, and we set up youth conferences all over the country.
Nice.
And we do it for high school, junior high, but we also do one for preteens. We're one of the only nationally touring conferences that way for preteens specifically.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
So he's letting the cat out of the bag a little bit, Sean,
yeah,
isn't he?
That's right.
Yeah.
Sean, where are you from? And tell us a little bit about yourself.
I'm from the Sacramento, California area. And
The best coast?
Yes.
Left coast? West?
I run a nonprofit called 456.org, all spelled out for FOURFIVE, and we equip churches to raise the value of ministry to preteens in their churches. And yeah, so I've been doing that since 2008. I was on staff at a church full-time for 19 years and just recently left that position to do 456 full-time.
Okay, yeah. At Destiny Church in Rockland, right?
That's
Great
right.
church,
Yeah.
great church. So you're here for what is being called the Preteen Ministry Conference. And our team is just really privileged to have you all here. We're really grateful that you took some time out to come here and just invest not only in us, but leaders around this area and even some from around the country that are coming out. Is that right?
Yeah, even we have some Canadians coming.
Canadians, that's almost as far away as Joplin, Missouri.
Yeah.
That's close. So talk to us about, why a preteen conference? Because this conversation, let's just put this out there. This isn't a sales pitch for a conference. It isn't a boring news interview with, hey, we're doing a conference and here's what it's all about. I just want to hear the heart of two men who you're investing your life into developing leaders and creating more of an awareness and equipping and empowering, all these things I'm just kind of throwing out at you to help the church become more effective at reaching, ministering to, and investing in the lives of preteens. And why are you doing this? Let's just kind of start there, and whoever wants to speak first. Like, why preteens? Why do our listeners want to know what you're passionate about? Like, talk to us.
Yeah. Well, a preteen leaders conference is important to us because, like you just said, preteen ministry is important. And so important that it needs its own leaders. It needs people that specifically look at that age, get to know that age, help them connect to Jesus in a way that works the most effective for them. Because, Sean will agree with me, we believe the preteen age is a unique age group, different than any other age group that you would find inside your church.
And talk to us about that.
Totally, absolutely. So here's the deal. The name of the game for preteens is change. Everything that's happening in a preteen's life is changing. It has a lot to do with puberty, obviously, but their bodies are changing, their hormones are changing. As they're going through this rapid time of change, their brains are changing as well. And as their brains change and expand, they begin to get new abilities to think. There's a certain way that you put this, Sean. I love it. What do you say about their brains?
Oh, it's like every week they wake up with new abilities that they didn't have. It's almost like they're growing a set of wings.
Really?
that they've never experienced before.
I'm experiencing the opposite in my life at this time, but keep going.
The funny thing about preteens is that, for little kids learning to walk, little toddlers, parents will applaud and, they fall down and whatever. But when preteens are using their new skills and their new abilities, it just annoys people.
That's exactly right. Yeah. But the reason why it annoys people is because as they get these new abilities and ways to think, it leads them into taking ownership of the things around them, which sometimes to some people feels like rebellion. Like why don't you listen to the same things that I'm telling you? You've always been such a good kid. You've always done what I've asked you to do. And now all of a sudden, that parent who's had this child that's followed everything that they have told them to follow, well, now they're testing and trying things that mom and dad haven't told them to follow. Yeah. But that's a healthy thing, because what's happening is they're using these new abilities and they're trying to figure out how to use them correctly and taking ownership.
I've told you about Daniel on the first day of fourth grade. I have my son. We have 2 daughters and a son. On the first day of fourth grade, I'm driving him to school, and from the back seat, I'm merging onto the freeway, and he says, "What if God isn't real?" But that's not a question he would have formulated. Before that, it just developmentally he was not at the place. Have you ever seen the show Brain Games?
Yes.
Okay, so
long time ago
they did an episode on the tween brain. You can find it on YouTube. And what they say is that at this age they are exploring possibilities. So it's that taking ownership piece of they're taking ownership of things. They're exploring possibilities because they can for the first time in their life, and all of it seems snarky or rebellious. But it's not. It's them doing their due diligence. It's them growing a set of wings, and they're trying them out, and so they're hitting things. They're like knocking things down because they have these new wings that they're trying out.
Is it accurate to say this is a really critical time for faith formation because of that exploring possibilities?
100%. Because what's happening for a preteen that's different than where they have been is that they are because they're taking ownership now of the things in their life. They're also taking ownership of their faith for the very first time. Now, what Sean and I would not say is they haven't had a relationship with Jesus. Jesus has been with them since they were born. He's been with them. But what they can do now is they can go, they couldn't do this before, but now they can go, well, what do I think about my relationship with Jesus? And they can actually on their own choose to have a relationship with Jesus by themselves. That isn't a relationship that is through their mom or their dad or through adult leaders or just through their church.
Yeah, when Daniel said, what if God isn't real? There was a part of me that celebrated because I knew this, where I think a lot of parents freak out in that moment, and you see your kid exploring possibilities and what seems like rebellion, but I love how Patrick says it is taking ownership. Like, this is an exciting time because developmentally they're ready. Yeah. Experientially, they're not. Experientially, they are not ready to do a lot of the things that they want to do. But developmentally, they're ready to take steps of ownership.
Yeah. I think Scott's personal opinion, in my experience, has been in the Christian circles here in the States, in America. Maybe it's everywhere. Sometimes followers of Jesus struggle with others asking really good questions.
Yes. Yeah.
They're like, you can't doubt. You're a person of faith. And I just come from a conviction of, no, I think on the other side of life's biggest questions, we're going to find Jesus.
Yeah.
So let's ask those questions and let's lean into them. And why be afraid? Like, I love how you said, Daniel, he asked that question that we all ask. Even as a follower of Jesus, every now and then I'm looking at my life going, God, are you real? Right?
Sure.
And that's, I think that's a question of a believer who is still seeking God, right?
Yeah.
How do you celebrate that? And go ahead.
Yeah, we had a friend who used to say, doubt is not the opposite of faith, it's the environment for faith.
Yes.
That's right.
Because what is faith? The scriptures say it's the certainty of things unseen.
Right.
Well, if we have no doubt, I mean, we can see it. There's no room for faith. Faith comes when Daniel can ask those questions. And so that's why I celebrate that moment. Like, okay, this can become his now. It's not just, you ask a first grader who Jesus is, they're probably going to tell you what their Sunday school teacher has said and what their parents have said. You ask a high schooler who Jesus is, and hopefully they've done some, wrestling
Personal
with
work,
that and
right.
some personal work. And, I don't think Jesus shies away from that kind of thing. In fact, he asked his disciple, who do you say I am? Like, I think that's a wonderful thing for Daniel to go through and for all preteens. Patrick, I love how you say it as like, this is when they're taking their first steps.
That's right. Yeah, this is a brand new process for them. So it's not like they're like completely in ownership, but because of what's happening developmentally, they're taking their first steps into ownership.
Do you guys, have you seen any, I don't know if you have enough data set as far as your time in this space, but have you seen any correlation or connection to, and if there's an underdeveloped faith formation in the preteen years, how it maybe stunts some things in the high school, college years? You kind of get what I'm pushing for?
I absolutely know what you're saying. One of the powerful things that happens when we help a preteen take ownership of their faith is some of the Christian values that we would say, man, this is a faith-based value. If someone were to have this in their life for the rest of their life, it would give them confidence. It would give them resilience in their faith. Those things happen during the preteen time, during a time when things are still the concrete isn't set. It's the best way I can describe that. That's what's special about preteens is they haven't really made up their mind yet about all of life. Everything is still kind of wet. So, but different than when they're younger, they're literally walking into their own faith, their own personal faith, and that's different. It's unique to them now. It's man, the Lord is walking with me in my own unique way.
Yeah.
He's answering my own unique prayers.
Yeah.
And when that happens for somebody, they learn some foundational truths during the time when the cement isn't set.
Yeah.
And so it helps because we have a good friend named Paula who will say sometimes she works with older students at times, and she'll say, man, there's a lot of concrete you've got to chip away at.
Yeah, right.
When they get older. But you get this opportunity at the preteen age where they're taking ownership. That's different than when they're in elementary school, but they're still moldable.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. One illustration we like to use is that of a bike.
Okay.
So when you're teaching somebody to ride a bike, there comes a point where you have to let go. And are they ready? Well, no, because they've never done it before.
Right.
And when it comes to faith ownership, the preteen years is where we need to let go and let them take ownership. So you say, is there a stunted growth? Well, imagine if you're learning to ride a bike and the person who's teaching you never lets go. There comes a point where you're just going to walk away from that bike. Yeah. You're going to say, that isn't my bike. And that's what we've seen in churches where preteens fail to make that connection from the preteen, the children's ministry to the youth ministry, because the youth ministry is all about, hey, let's get our bikes and go somewhere. But if they've never had a chance to learn and wobble, because preteen ministry isn't just about letting go of the bike, it's letting go and running beside. And
who doesn't fall down?
That's
absolutely.
That's right.
I mean, it's almost like as a parent, I don't want my kids to get hurt, so I'm going to protect them, and I'm going to put them on the bike, and I'm not going to let them fall down. But protecting them doesn't really prepare them for what's going to come. So let them skin their knee now when that bike's this low.
100%, and that's why preteen ministries for us are so valuable, because a preteen ministry is a place that a young person, a preteen, can come and test out those things in a safe environment, a place where they have leaders around them that can gently correct them and help them. They're not going to crash and burn. That's going to be so scarring in their life if they're doing it within our ministry, because they'll have leaders around them saying, hey, you know what? That's okay. Yeah. Let's talk about what you've learned. Let's understand that Jesus forgives you in these moments. Like, they get to walk in that way.
Yeah, that's
whereas
really
a children's ministry might not be the perfect place for them to be flapping their wings around. A preteen ministry can be a place where, okay, we're all in this together. We understand you guys are in a kind of it's a messy spot. It really is a messy spot, but if if you step back from it, it can actually be really funny.
Yeah.
So as a church, I've got a couple of questions
Yeah, go ahead.
for our time left. And I do want to get back to you, Sean, and why you stepped away from a great church after 19 years of being invested there.
Yeah.
And why this is such a big passion for you. Maybe we'll wrap up with that. But you're kind of getting where I wanted to go. 2 questions was, how do we as churches steward this season well for these kids? Like, how do we cultivate ministries or have preteen ministries that cultivate these things for kids? And you were just talking a little bit about that. Maybe speak to that if there's any more you want to say on that. But then I'd love to hear your thoughts. How do we as parents, of preteens, in addition to how you're responding to Daniel's question, how do we help nurture our preteens to start owning their faith and their walk? And I just said a bunch of stuff. We'll start with the church and then go to parents.
Okay.
Yeah. Some of it's the same answer.
Yeah, that's true.
That's actually really good.
Right? Some of it's the same.
Yeah.
I'll go back to what Sean was saying about that bike metaphor that he gave, that letting go of the bike. For us, when it comes to ministering to preteens, whether you're a parent, whether you're a ministry leader, it's a lot of those steps that he talked about. It's number one, we've got to let go. We have to let them take ownership of their faith. The more that we hold on or we force an ownership of faith on a preteen, the less it's theirs. It's no longer they can't take ownership because it's yours. They don't see it as theirs. So we have to let go and allow them to take ownership of their faith. But at the same time, if they're on their bicycle, we know this, you said this a minute ago, you take your hands off the bicycle, it's going to ride and head straight for a mailbox or a parked car,
Yes,
right?
right.
It's that's going to happen. So we don't just let go of the bike, we also run along beside the bike and help correct when it's needed.
You're not pushing them across
advice.
the street like that, pushing them in the middle of
That's
the oncoming traffic.
Yeah, but you're there. You're there beside them.
Sure.
They know that you're an ever-present guide in their life, and you're helping correct when you need to, but you have to let go. And what we have seen in church ministry is if you have more of a children's pastor's heart, it's a lot harder for you to let go.
Yeah.
But if you have a youth pastor's heart, where you need to be is continue to run along beside them.
Yes.
Not just like, because a lot of, like he said, a lot of youth ministries, they should be. That's where they're at. It should be let me let go and let you ride on your own. But they're not quite ready for that yet either.
But with a strong preteen ministry, they can be closer to it when they get to youth, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah. And I think so like a parent might come to me and say, okay, my 5th grader doesn't want to come to church. Should I allow them to stay home? And I don't think it's I think people want an answer, right? Like yes or no. But I think where preteen ministry is different and preteen parenting is different is that it becomes less about the yes or no and more about the process. So it becomes more about like, well, why, asking questions and finding out what they're thinking and helping them think through what they're thinking and get to an answer at the end that they arrive at the answer.
Yeah, they own it.
That's right.
Right. They own the answer, but you've helped them think through the things you're thinking through that lead you to say, well, no, that's not, don't stay home. You got to go to church, right? Or wherever it is that you fall on that, help them understand the process, help them go through that process themselves so that they owned the yes or no at the end. They own it.
That's really good. How does a church, in thinking from a, I don't know if this is, maybe I'm getting old school with my language here, but from a programmatic standpoint, how do you as a church create ministry programming around these things that you're saying? Like any practical thoughts for maybe some church leaders out there who are listening to these things?
I think it starts with training the leaders on what preteens are like and where they're at, and all the developmental stuff that we're talking about. There's some great books out there. Patrick wrote one.
And Sean wrote one.
And Sean, hold on. Okay,
absolutely.
Patrick, will you promote Sean's book right now? Tell us the title so that if someone wants to grab a copy, then you can promote Patrick.
This is like when my wife's like, "Wasn't my birthday?"
100%. Yes. Yes. Tell me the name of your book, Sean.
You know the name. You know the name of the book. Are you
Pride
kidding
and
me?
Prejudice or something like that?
Because it's only because he's asked me.
Let go and run beside.
It is.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say let go of the bike. That's why.
Okay.
So what is it, Patrick?
That's what, it's let go and run beside.
Let go and run beside.
Yes.
So he's talking the book the whole time here.
Yeah.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to put you on the spot. This
Yeah.
is like really dangerous. Have you actually read it?
Oh, I have absolutely
Yeah?
have read it. Yes.
He wrote the preface for it.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Nice. There's big money in publishing books, isn't there?
Oh, no. Wait, I meant yes.
What
Was
is
I supposed
one?
to say yes?
If you can remember, what's like one big takeaway from Sean's book that you got?
The very thing that we just talked about.
Yeah,
He
okay.
really highlights what it looks like to let go.
Okay.
And preteen ministry and some of the things you are asking are all in Sean's book. Like
Really?
What are those what are the principles that we can use to help us as a ministry do those type of things?
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Sean, what is Patrick's?
It's called Leading Preteens.
Leading Preteens.
Yeah.
By Patrick Snow.
Yeah.
And I've never read it. No, I've read it. I actually read it. Most of my book was I just copied stuff he had said
Yes.
in his
Okay.
book.
No, absolutely not.
But how long ago did you write?
It's been a while.
It's been a while. Yeah,
it's been a while.
But some of those same principles, and here's what's
Yeah.
really cool is that the principles that we've discovered about preteen ministry, like when we went through this whole COVID shutdown thing, we had a thriving preteen ministry. And it was because we continued to do these things that are in these concepts. And actually, being a parent, after I was already a leader of preteens, the parenting thing, it works the same. It's when you understand and when you have leaders who understand what preteens are going through, you show them so much more grace and space to grow and spread those wings and knock a few things down and laugh instead of cry.
Wow. So, Sean, I can imagine, I mean, I'm just hearing both of you guys, your heart and your passion come through, but being at the season that you're in and stepping away from something you've built or were a part of building,
Yeah.
and all the reward that comes from that and the fruit that maybe you're now seeing that because of what you did 10 years ago, and you see all that going on,
Yeah.
and now you step out and do this. One, thank you. That's some faith-filled risk-taking that I think is God-honoring. But just tell us your heart a little bit. Why do that
Well,
at this point in life?
It was very easy because a preteen who was in my ministry and was a part of our leadership program came back as a volunteer in high school. And God continued to place a call on her life. And she is now the preteen ministry pastor.
Oh,
So
wow.
so it's funny you say what you did 10 years ago, blah, blah, blah. Well, she's 23 and she was in my preteen ministry 13 years ago. And now she's leading it. She's actually here as a leader at the conference. So
That's incredible.
that's why, because number one, it was time for her to step into the role. And number two, helping other churches and other people, it was starting to consume more of my time. They're just emails from people and questions and then wanting to develop resources for other people to build what we have at Destiny, and help inspire others towards that was very compelling for me. And I'm a volunteer in my ministry now. I have a fourth grade boys group, and they're just ridiculous, but that's how fourth grade boys are.
Right, right. That's amazing.
Yeah.
Well, let's wrap it up with this. Patrick, could you, and I'll give you a chance to think here for a moment. I want you just to speak to the parents that might be out there listening who have a preteen, or could even be any child, preteen, teenager. Just encourage them a little bit, whatever comes from your heart. And then Sean, maybe if you could do the same to ministry leaders out there who are investing in the lives of students and preteens, and we'll wrap it up. So we gave Patrick about 8 seconds to think about it while I asked you.
No worries.
No
worries. This is what I would tell a parent. I would say, number one, if you have a preteen, they're at a very special age, and you should cherish that age. Like we said, there's a really unique thing happening to them, and it's that they are taking ownership of all the things around them. And instead of feeling like they're pulling away from you, I would do what Sean said. I would ask questions. I would continue to run along beside them and let them make those choices, and just know, like, continue to model faith in Jesus. Let them see that, because they are still sponges and they're still picking those things up. It's just different for them now because they're having their first personal relationship with Jesus, and man, what a special thing that is. So hang in there. It's not easy. A lot of things going on in the preteen age, a lot of change happening in the preteen age, which has to do with their hormones and their emotions, and and a lot of things that you got to navigate as a parent. But just know, this is a special time, and Jesus has not left them alone, and that personal relationship that they're taking ownership for the first time, he is still right there, just speaking into their lives and laying down foundational things for them.
Thank you so much. That's really encouraging. He's not too bad, is he, Sean?
Nah, Patrick's all right.
Sean, encourage some ministry leaders out there.
I would want to encourage you. You're not alone, and you may be the only person in your church who gets it. You may not have the same kind of thing Hannah has here. Hannah's the preteen ministry leader.
Yeah, Hannah's amazing, by the way.
And she is amazing.
Absolutely.
But she also has a church that's pretty stinking amazing, gives her an entire floor or half of a floor for her preteens. And the reality is most ministry leaders don't have that. And they're fighting and clawing for people to understand the importance of this age group. I just want to encourage you, think like the Grand Canyon. That thing is huge and it's dynamic, but it wasn't built overnight. It was the water just slowly eating away. And I just want to encourage, just keep up the good fight to preteen ministry leaders and keep pressing forward towards what God is calling you towards. And you're not alone either. Patrick said, he said, your preteens aren't alone. Jesus is with them. Same thing, preteen ministry leaders. Jesus is with you. And there's a community of us, 456.org, that would love to link arms and resource you and support you and answer questions as you're going through this.
Love it. So 456.org, it's spelled out, FOURFIVESIX.
I feel weird when I'm spelling out the SIX because by that point people understand what, they don't. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
you just did the same thing I was doing.
It's just my...
You spell out
it's
4 or 5, and then you get to the 6. Like
they didn't know how to spell it.
You get the idea. You get the idea.
FOURFIVE, you get the rest.
Right.
You get the idea.
Yeah.
That's what I'm going to start doing. Thank you.
Thank you guys for being on Map, on mission. You're amazing. Keep up the great work. We're really delighted to get to know you guys.
Thank you.
Appreciate
Thanks for hosting the conference.
Absolutely.
All right.